Very well, thank you. We are having really nice weather again in London, so it's always nicer to wake up in the morning and you've got more energy for life, I guess, when it's sunny and warm outside. It's like 26 degrees for a couple of days in a row, so really unusual for London.
That sounds fantastic. I saw there was the SPC football tournament the other day. They were lucky with the weather as well. Did you manage to attend it?
I was there. I was there, and there was a really nice event afterwards as well in a beach sort of location. But it did feel it was an amazing event. But I specifically felt that it was not the whole industry, because I was probably there one of the 4 women between 400 guys. So I think if Malta was open up for travel, we would have seen more diversity there.
Yeah, that's an interesting observation. But yeah, other than that, I guess it was nice for the industry to have its first event. But yeah, what do you think can be done there, Karolina, to increase the diversity? Is it just that
I don't know.
football in itself is dominated by men?
I think the football itself just attracted mostly men, but then there's not a lot of people traveling to London for this event. So I guess London-based companies are mostly sportsbook companies as well. So I guess that's where it's come from. When there's no Sweden traveling in and no Malta, that's why we didn't see like more other companies. So it was visible that we're still in the COVID time and it's still not the whole industry coming together, even though it was a really, really lovely event.
Fair enough. But yes, interesting to see that the industry is gathering, albeit on a local level, so to say, more and more. Things are heading the right direction. Is very much the feeling we are getting here, and even the Maltese government are preparing now to release new guidelines for events here as well. So hopefully, in Malta we can start gathering in a safe and responsible manner soon. We hope as well. Good morning to you, Nico, as well, dear co-moderator. How are you this morning? You found a silent place?
Indeed, I found a silent place. As of now, I'm in Crete, enjoying the view, enjoying the weather, so it's all good. It's nice to just enter a restaurant without being kind of labeled as a potential risk, and people in Greece pretty much enjoy life again. Hopefully, and fingers crossed, people in Germany will start enjoying their life again as well.
Absolutely. How is the vaccination process going there in Germany, Nico? I don't mean to brag here, but you are obviously talking to the world leaders here in Malta.
So the latest number, which has been published by the government beginning of this week, so we have 50 million vaccines already distributed, and if I'm not mistaken, roughly 15 million people had their second shot already. So we're back on track.
Brilliant. Good to hear that. And like I said, I don't mean to brag here, but we are lucky enough to be in Malta, which is kind of the world leader in the vaccination process. It's Malta is a funny place. It's one of either extremes in every issue. Either we are best in the world or we are worst in the world. And fortunately, this time around, we're on the right side on the fence. With I think we reached more than 70% of vaccination here in Malta now. So time to open up. Hashtag, I would say. Good morning to you, Tim, as well. How are you doing?
Morning, Pierre. Very, very well. Just been on a whirlwind tour down to Dubai for one day, banking and the painful art of banking and compliance. So, yeah, we had some issues, and so we had to KYC in a new bank, and obviously the only way to do that is to fly down to Dubai. So, enjoyed the 45 degrees down there. That said, managed to combine some business with it as well, and again, the amount of Indian and Chinese bookmakers and casinos now operating out of Dubai is astonishing. One group, Yabo, who are probably the biggest casino in the world, they have relocated 3,000 Chinese customer support agents to Dubai. They've bought 4 buildings. They've put a wall around it, or a gated community. They've got their own restaurants, their own underground casino or poker game there as well, and they're working their 24/7 shifts from Dubai. So it's quite astonishing how they're moving so quickly and slightly moving away from Manila and the issues with COVID there as well. But yeah, it's sort of surreal to see them establish a mini city in a town that is very open to doing business. And Dubai is all about money, as we all know. So I don't think that government, as long as you're not exposing yourself in public and you're doing your business behind closed door, they're very, very happy to have you there. But certainly very interesting place to be.
It seems very much to be that Dubai has a front of various restrictions and rules and so forth. But as you're saying, if you're operating kind of on a low key without rubbing it in anyone's faces, you can kind of get away with a lot of things. Tim, is that the feeling you're getting as well, even on that high of a level with thousands of people working for a gaming company?
Completely. You've got everything there, and I think with all these free zones which are set up in Dubai, they understand that as long as you're not offering those services to the United Arab Emirates and really, let's call it, infecting their local citizens, they're very happy to have any type of business there which is working then sort of for in an offshore remote working way, and they'll charge the appropriate license fee, and it's an expensive place to live, but it's a smart government that sort of weaves its way around Islamic law. But as long as you, as I said, put it in front of the face of everyone, then business can prosper. And there's a very good financial system there. There's obviously, you've got restrictions with
Seems like we are losing you here a little bit, Tim. I'm not sure if it's only me, but I'm losing Tim a little bit.
Back now, can you hear me?
No, it's good. No, it's okay. No, seems like we are losing you a little bit again, Tim. There, maybe we'll put a pause on this for now, and we'll get back to that conversation in a little bit. Alex, good morning to you as well. Nice to have you back here as well from PandaScore. What's the latest in the esports / gambling world?
Hi there. Yeah, nice to be here. Yeah, just actually had my vaccine, the first vaccine yesterday, actually. So I was expecting to feel a bit rough today, but yeah, feel all right. So I don't know, maybe the new vaccines are slightly better, but yeah, feel all good. Yeah, the esports industry's taking along nicely. Not sure there's been too much news this week, but yeah, all things are going well at PandaScore at the moment. Lots of tournaments and lots of S-tier tournaments that are starting this week. So there's going to be quite a lot of prize money being thrown around esports games. So yeah, pretty excited to see how that pans out.
Brilliant. Absolutely fascinating space, of course. That's and it's always nice to have you here, Alex. And if you do find kind of updates and interesting findings to share on the esports side, we're super open to always have your insights here. So yeah, thanks for joining this morning as well. And good morning to Rory as well, my dear colleague. How are you?
Hi everyone. Good morning, everyone. I'm certainly not in exotic places like Crete. I'm still currently based in Twickenham, but it's sunny weather here. So I'm actually looking forward to this. Is the month where the European Championships kick off. So I'm actually quite looking forward to actually having some live sport to be able to watch on TV, which is going to be hopefully galvanising the nation at some point. So with England doing quite well. So but we'll see. But yeah, no, great day, and yeah, happy to be here.
So I can see that you are under the illusion that every English fan is in every single Euro Cup and World Cup, thinking that they will win the tournament, and then there's a massive failure. It's kind of like the Eurovision, in other words.
Well, we don't have Thomas Brolin against us anymore, so that's probably quite good. So, but yeah, no, you'd always hope, haven't you? So, but I do think they've got a strong team. I reckon top 4 at some point. It's got to happen at some point. So.
At some point, yes. All right, let's keep our fingers crossed. And Bogdan, good morning to you as well, my friend. How is everything going? Nice to see you back here.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, welcome from sunny Poland, central part of Poland, and I just listened to the colleagues saying that they were vaccinated. I was also vaccinated with the second dose yesterday, and while first, the vaccination has been pretty bumpy for me, extremely high fever, and felt really awful. Then yesterday's, except for the pain in the arm, not too bad, to be honest. So I'm happy that I'm not dying, at least for the next 2 days. So it's looking bright. So looking forward to also watch some good footy coming up, and happy to see that situation when it comes to the cryptocurrencies seems to be stabilizing a little bit, which probably Tim will join me with. So have a good morning, everyone, and have a nice session.
Thank you, Bogdan, for that. And yeah, it's very interesting that you're noting cryptocurrencies. Definitely, let's slide into that a little bit today as well. But before we start today, I just wanted to kind of welcome everyone again to the iGaming Breakfast chat. I want to remind everyone that this session is being recorded and it's being distributed afterwards to our iGaming socials, so that the unfortunate people who are not here today can still take advantage of the wonderful insights that we are sharing with each other today. Also want to remind everyone that if you would like to come on stage, if you'd like to join the discussion here with me, Karolina, Bogdan, Rory, and the rest, you can do so by just putting up your hand. There's a little hand symbol in the bottom of your screen. That will invite you up to the stage, and we will approve you. And you can come here just to ask questions. You can come with insights, whatever you feel like, really. It's an open discussion, and no need to be shy. Whatever insight or question you might have is always interesting to discuss. So feel free to put your hand up if you'd like to join the discussion. And finally as well, if you'd like to join the iGaming Club, you can do so by just clicking the little green house in the top of the screen. And that will basically give you access to, it will give you notifications every time we open a room. And you can also open your own room. How cool is that? So yeah, before we get started today, Nico, I know that you have been working on the news and the updates for the last week here. So feel free to take over here. What is the latest and greatest in the iGaming industry?
Yeah, good morning my end as well to the audience, and of course, feel free to invite friends of yours to join this room as well. We're a cozy and nice group, and just make sure we're joined by your friends as well. So this week's wrap up is all about legal numbers and M&As. So starting with legal, and to Sweden, the court denies the spell inspection leave of appeal over the possible deposit loophole, which has been identified towards Kindred and the ATG. So what has happened? Last year, mid of last year, I'm pretty sure it has been around June, July, the player protection has been raised in Sweden, putting a deposit limit of 5,000 Swedish crowns, but just for casinos. So what players had been able to do is changing the vertical, increasing the deposit limit, depositing more, getting back to the casino, and then they've been able to actually spend even more. So the court ruled that this deposit limit is just based on casino, and that's why this has been put to rest from the court. So then, as already anticipated, with respect to the German iGaming turnover tax rate, the EGBA and the Germany-based Deutscher Sportwettenverband, they filed in EU state aid compliant over this German tax, which we have been discussed with the effective tax rate of 0.3%. And just to speed you up a little bit, the European Union, the European Parliament had already filed an official complaint towards the German gambling treaty, the upcoming gambling treaty, with the aim to that Germany had to officially lower the player protection barriers a little bit. So we are thrilled to see what the European Union will decide on this one as well. Getting back to numbers, the well-known statistics provider, revenue provider, H2, they report a global operator revenue on a year-on-year basis, Q1 2022 compared with the 2020 numbers, and they have seen a revenue up of 38%. Of course, this sounds quite big, but please keep in mind that the year-on-year is based on the first quarter of 2020, where at least March was a pretty rough month for the sports betting industry with no games available at all. And based on the Q4 comparison 2020 with the Q1 2021, we already see a decrease again, based, first of all, a revenue increase of the usual suspects, the USA, Australia, and Asia, but with a decrease based on 50 to 70% decrease based in Germany due to new legislation, and Sweden is lowering the numbers as well based on the financial issues they have. In addition, Bet365 reports an 8% revenue dip for their 2020 numbers. They still come out strong with a revenue of roughly £3 billion. So heading over to the US and Canada. So what we already see is that Tennessee, they will implement a new authority which will come into effective by 1st of January. So heading over from a legal point of view to an authority point of view, the restrictions or the responsibilities will shift over in the US, specifically in Tennessee. Then BetMGM, they are focusing on partnering up with idols and well-known sports icons, and they signed a deal with Wayne Gretzky, specifically eyeing their Canadian market entry. Heading over to the M&A side. So Better Collective, they raised 150 million in new capital by completing a private book build. So what we have already seen the last couple of weeks, strong M&A activities all over our industry, and M&A playing a big role, and Better Collective already released their strategy that they are specifically looking for chances. So they just filled their kind of pockets with 150 million euros in fresh capital. So we will see for sure further acquisitions. Getting back to acquisitions, Betfred, they purchased the betting world operator to actually start operating in South Africa. So the price is announced with 6.1 million pounds as well. Heading over to the US, so we've seen Skills has already acquired the esports marketing platform of Archie for $150 million. Maybe Alex will give us some insights on this as well, or his view later. And then just yesterday, Break Gaming, they acquired White Street Gaming for roughly $60 million to also establish their footprint, or to strengthen their footprint in the US market as well. And then we already see something which might come up within the near future. BetMakers, they offered a $4 billion buyout to the Tabcorp holdings with respect to form a new Aussie giant. So as of now, this is just a proposal, but within the next couple of weeks, we might see one of the biggest mergers for our industry, or based in our industry as well. And that's pretty much the wrap up from my end. And I'd just like to hand over to Pierre, Tim, or whoever wants to grab the mic as well. But I'm pretty sure Tim has some insights on the upcoming Aussie deal already.
Yeah, I do actually. So obviously the Tabcorp's been the monopoly in Australia for a very long time, and there's been more competition coming. Entain have put an offer forward for it. I think it's around $4 billion. And then Bitmakers, which is a startup focused on horse racing, from a lot of the industry veterans in the Australian market have come together. They've listed on the ASX. They've been growing rapidly, and especially wanting to take horse racing to the American market. Most Aussie bookmakers use them. They're bloody expensive, if you ask me, but that's another point. And now, yeah, they're putting together a bit of a consortium with, I think, Dean Shannon heading it up, who obviously sold sportsbet.com.au to Paddy Power back in the day, and they've put together this bid to try and take over Tabcorp. Tabcorp has struggled with all their shops being closed. They're the only allowed or the legal sort of high street bookmaker in the retail outlets, and they've obviously struggled during COVID. So yeah, they're now looking to be bought out, and it's a very much a developing story in the Australian market. That said, there's another one that Fox News and Fox Bets are also now putting together a play using the News Corporation in Australia to bring in a new foxbets.com.au. So the Australian market is obviously the highest GGR or per capita in the world in the Australian market. And funnily enough, they still do not allow in-play betting over the internet. So it's pretty crazy, but it's a very good market.
Bogdan, did you want to chime in here as well?
Yes, I was just want to say about one rather big thing for our industry, which has been announced a couple of days ago by MGA, that they are lowering the RTP to 85%. So I think that's quite a big news when it comes to the industry, and especially for the online suppliers and online casino games suppliers, and also for the casinos, that they can play right now and adjust their RTP to pretty much what we can see on the retail market. So I think that's rather a big change, and I think it will backfire to those who apply that change.
Do you think that this is a response to the German regulation with the higher taxes, Fiona?
Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, there are people who are offering their games at 85% at the moment and lower. So like there is a way around it. This is just the consensus because of Germany with the tax that they're bringing in. People aren't going to make money, and it would be very difficult for the operators to stay there. So between the operators, the suppliers, and the MGA, there's been quite a long consultation in terms of how they get to this period and how they get to a safe point. Now, some people will go towards the extreme and go down to 85. Most people will stay between 90 or between 88 and 90, but it's down to each supplier. I mean, from our point of view, we've never had variable RTP as a business, and we now are, but only for Germany. So we are obviously having to adapt this for the German, because it's our biggest market, but we will be at the higher end of it. But the MGA kind of had to do something there. You can't have people offering the games at 92%, and the operators is not making any money from us. It's completely unsustainable. I think the bigger issue is that tax from the German opposed to anything else.
Cool. So the change is from 92 to 85%, if I understand it correctly, Fiona.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, variable RTP has been something that's becoming more and more common over the past couple of years, and lots of suppliers have their games in numerous at numerous levels of RTP. IGT have done it for years and years, so it's definitely not something that's completely new. It's just being more widely adapted. I think the key thing here is when people are going to drop their RTP and are going to various, and I think we've had a couple of sessions about the operators doing it. I think as long as people are very transparent and honest in it, players are shrewd enough to be able to understand when something's written there. But I feel that 85 is a little low personally, given that there is still room for manoeuvring if they drop down to 88 or 86, but that's a supplier's point of view. I'm sure the operators have a very different point of view from me.
My opinion on this, the hypocrisy of regulators, how they can now lower this RTP to 85%, it's just criminal. I mean, they talk about player protection. They talk about looking after the player, responsible gaming. How can the regulator then allow the minimum RTP to be 85%? It's just unbelievable. But, you know, they're all commercially driven.
Agree, Tim. I completely agree, Tim. All of this is Germany doing this and then the MGA having to back different things for each market. I mean, pretty sure it's for a SO license and just do it that way. But I don't think it's offering the protection that people say it is.
Bogdan, did you want to chime in here as well? What is your thought here on what is being said?
Well, yes, I do know, and I also seen many comments that this is in reply to the German regulations. But bear in mind that all the newcomers, all the companies who base their budget and the profits will try to exploit that. Simple as it is, and at the end of the day, it's customer who will be harmed. I mean. It's not so funny. It's not that easy to win in a casino, and I've seen many discussions during the course of the week that people, has been with a bit of irony saying that they are simply winning too much in the casinos, in the online casinos. So they are very looking forward to this change to add a little bit more excitement into the games. But that was the ironic comments which I seen from a couple of colleagues. But what I am afraid of is that even though if our industry is pretty much trying to play fair, of course we're going to find the companies who will use this opportunity to apply the lower RTP to the games in order simply to increase the profits. So I'm not too happy with this, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, Robert Lenzhofer, you're obviously a bit of an expert in the German market here. Seeing that you are trying to work around with different solutions to keep the RTP high through Hölle, your operator, do you think that MGA is making a mistake here by allowing operators to tweak their RTP to 85%?
Well, I think they had no choice, really. I wrote an article as well because the logistics are a little bit complicated. There is the tax law in Germany. I'm not sure. I just joined. I'm sorry. Good morning. There's the tax law in Germany, which is separated from the actual gambling treaty. And so the gambling treaty is ratified. 16 states had to ratify it, and it's done about 2 months ago. And the tax law will be implemented likely next week. So it's quite a thriller. We have to wait 1 more week to know with certainty whether the tax law will pass through. But there's sort of two things. One, the tax law exists and the draft exists. Number two, a date has been set. There was hope in the industry, I think I'm not sure if there's still possibility really. I can't really judge the political process too well, but there was hope that they won't find a date in June to pass the tax law for 1st of July. Now the MGA was pushed around by operators and by suppliers saying we need a solution because we need content online by 1st of July if that happens. And I'm speculating a little bit, but I think I think MGA acted fast and professional. You have to admit, knowing the background of it, because they couldn't really say it's a German exception because the tax law wasn't in place yet. So they had to find a good, reasonable reason they can put into the policies and ask sort of, do a consultation around it and then implement something. So their reasoning is to be in line with land-based, that the online RTP is in line with land-based, but in reality, it's all about the German situation and coupled with the timing factor, 1st of July, and the tax law not being in place. So I think they acted really fast and professional, knowing the background of it. Of course, low RTPs, nobody likes. And what we've done at Hölle Games, we have developed it's really, really simple at the end of the day. The keyword is recycling small wins. So if you recycle small wins, like a €1 win, which you would not pay out anyways, and you couldn't pay out because payout limits are at €5, €10, €20 with operators, we keep in the system. Thus, they're not taxed again, and thus also because they're exposed again to the RTP of the next round, the overall RTP lowers. So it's a little bit of a unusual thing to do, but it works. So what we have in place, and I think Once next week is 100% certain, I think a lot of suppliers will do the exact same thing. We are happy to be copied. We are actually proud of it if we are copied. Is that with this we can achieve an 88% mathematical RTP, but if you include, let's say, the recycling of the small wins in something we call an experienced RTP, we have an experienced RTP of 94%. So let's say you win 2 cherries, and typically it's €1, but instead of €1, it's one, we call it bonus spin. So the experience is extremely similar to, like, winning €1 and placing it again. It's you have an experienced RTP like you're used to as a player. So that's, I think a lot of people will copy this once next week is 100% certain.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Robert. I wanted to, Karolina, I wanted to ask you as well. You did a podcast with Richard Carter, the CEO of Bragg Gaming Group, and he made a prediction that he thought that it was more likely than not that there will be a bit of a stalemate in Germany, that the new tax law will not come into play. Can you expand a little bit on what Richard's argument was?
Sorry. I don't recall fully, to be honest with you, the answers. I would need to listen back to it. But when I talked to him privately, he just basically says that there's just so many uncertainties and that's so open to interpretation in many things, and there's so much pushback that people don't think that it's going to pass all the different layers of regulatory and all the approvals to fully come into place. But at the same time, you can understand Richard coming from a perspective where this would be really welcomed if it didn't come through. So I think all the sort of executives representing businesses heavily reliant on Germany are going to be saying that. In my view, it's objectively, I hear a lot of opinions on the contrary of that is 100% going to come in place and it's going to change the landscape completely and be hurting a lot of companies. So he was just basically saying that it's still quite far away from full implementation, and he doesn't believe that it's going to come into place in the current shape because it's just unsustainable and there's going to be too much pushback.
I think it's not that it's going to hurt companies, but because obviously it absolutely will. But I think the bigger issue with this and how the Germans have gone around this entire process is it's going to hurt players. I mean, already we're seeing a huge uplift in the amount of Curacao licensed operators targeting Germany and not implement any of the requirements that have been put in. And that, obviously, I'm sure all the other suppliers on the line have seen the exact same thing. And that's just going to keep going up and up. So, okay, yes, the big companies that are very well known and are the leaders in Germany right now will still be operating and they'll be responsible. But if you're a player and all of a sudden you have to wait 5 seconds for each spin, if your max spin, it's no longer an entertaining space. And obviously it's such a highly competitive slots market. I think that there will be a huge issue with an increase in the grey markets.
Unfortunately, Fiona, I totally agree with you, but unfortunately, I do not believe that regulators at the end of the day see that perspective of hurting players, because it was in all 100%. All regulation. If they understood the impact on players that a lot of these restrictions have, maybe they would have rethought it. I think it's a very thin line between what's done in player protection and what's basically too much interference with players' rights and to make some decisions.
Absolutely.
Right? So and I think
absolutely.
I mentioned that before. It was someone drew a parallel for me where Spain was one of the first countries to put extremely high tax on cigarette sales, and what that ended up doing is that at some point 60% of all cigarettes trade in Spain was illegal cigarettes trade, because people just went around this. And what that did to the actual consumer is they were exposed to a whole lot of completely different range of harmful substances coming from the illegal trade, where there is no clean production process and so on. So it did not protect the end user in any way, shape or form. And I think this parallel is actually quite
it's a very good parallel here. It's a very good parallel, and it's not just the Swedish market we're talking about. It's a variety of them, and we're getting to a point of regulation versus over-regulation. I think we've been talking about it for quite a while now, but I think we're reaching saturation point on it now.
And while we're at cigarettes, I always use also the situation of IQOS. You know, I'm a ex-smoker, and I unfortunately got back into smoking a couple of cheeky cigarettes here and there. But you know, you have all this regulation in UK where you can't buy menthol cigarettes. You don't have any brands on the packages. Everything looks gray, and this is supposed to be, you know, protecting consumers. And then, you know, another cigarette company comes out with a beautiful Apple-like device, IQOS, which you can buy in every shop. There is every possible taste of IQOS cigarettes you want to buy, including citrus, vanilla, menthol, and apple, and nobody does anything about it. And they are 4 times cheaper than normal cigarettes. So again, like, regulation needs to be enforceable.
Known either as well, so who even knows what the
exactly.
long-term detrimental health benefits will be.
Exactly. So I'm just using this example, saying if there is a regulation that's supposed to protect the consumers, it needs to be overarching, it needs to be up to speed with the latest ways of circumventing it, and it needs to be acting faster, because otherwise it doesn't make any sense.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Tim, we seem to have some internet issues here, Gamma, unfortunately. But we can jump back to the subject in a little bit. I just wanted to kind of reset the room a bit. Just again, for the ones who are just chiming in, welcome to the iGaming Next Breakfast chat. Just want to remind you guys that whoever wants to join us here on stage can just do so by putting up your hand, the little hand symbol, and you'll be able to join the discussion here, basically. Tim is writing that he's in a taxi in Kiev, which is probably not the most ideal place to for internet and so on. But hopefully we can get back to it in a little bit. I wanted to change subject here for a moment. And there was a really funny news article that was published in iGaming Business the other day, with a big headline saying that Macau has increased its revenue by 500% year on year. And obviously kind of disregarding the fact that Macau was completely closed a year ago. So if you look closer into the numbers, this kind of sunshine story, if you will, turns into a bit of a nightmare story instead. With if we compare the year-on-year revenue between 2021 April to 2019 April, Macau has lost about 60% of its revenue. And this begs the question if we will ever see the return to normalcy when it comes to the land-based revenues in land-based casinos. Now, I would love to ask Tim about this actually, but because he is obviously involved in land-based operations. But let's wait and see if Tim can kind of normalize his internet connection. But I do see that our friend Todd Haushalter is in the audience, who I know used to work and live in Macau, and obviously from the Vegas days. So if Todd would like to join us on stage, it would be super interesting to hear his opinion. If not, if you're having breakfast, if you're cooking, if you're busy, then I'd like to just open the floor to this discussion a little bit. So Alexandre, what about we start on your end? It's nice to see you here again as well, buddy. What do you think? Will land-based casino like Vegas and Macau, will they start getting back to normalcy when it comes to 2019 level revenue, or will those days be gone forever?
So it's funny. Hi, Pierre. Hi, everyone. It's funny you mentioned I don't know if I don't remember if you said 400, 500%, but almost every year or every 2 years, you read an article about Macau reaching a 400 or 500% of something. So it's 400% more than Las Vegas. This was, I think, in 2016. There's always some funky numbers about Macau, like the news discovered at some point that there was a bigger gambling mecca than Las Vegas. And they were flabbergasted by that, and now they only talk about Macau and something about Macau and growth and this and that. Concerning your question, to be honest, I've got no idea. I can't. I mean, from what we see here in Spain, we've been heavily touched by COVID. And numbers are going down. People are getting vaccinated by waves from the oldest to the youngest. I think they're vaccinating people of my age actually now, between 40 and 50. And the numbers are really going down, but we're in summer. And the same thing happened last year. And then when it comes back, usually it comes back in October. So I think we need to see what's going to happen basically when the fall comes back. If we still have high rates of COVID, and from there, basically, if it drops down back to normal, kind of, and if it doesn't, see what's going to be the stance of the world there. Basically, we're going to say, okay, enough is enough. We can't live in quarantine for forever, and we're going to start opening up, and we'll see what happens. Or again, quarantine. But it's a tough question. It's very hard to predict. To be honest, I don't even know what's the status of Las Vegas today, if the casinos are open or not. I mean, does anyone knows that?
They're open. They've reopened. There is some mask wearing kind of enforcement, but they are reopening. I was kind of looking at some of, I'm sure you all know Sue Schneider, and looking at some of her stuff on Facebook and just chatting, and kind of from what she's saying is most people who are vaccinated are just trying to get back to their way of life in the US. And I think with Vegas, I think the US as a whole is trying to do their best to get back to normal. And I think that Vegas is building it up. I'm not sure whether the level of travel from outside of the US to the Vegas will ever get back to the way it is, or at least for the next couple of years. I think a lot of people have been kind of mentally affected, and for them they would rather maybe stay either in the UK or at least in Europe where they are slightly safer than go further afield. Now, I could be wrong. I've already booked my flights for G2E. I'm heading to Vegas, but I think that there has definitely been some trauma in some people, and that they don't want to take these long haul flights anymore or go further afield. But Vegas itself has started reopening, and I've seen kind of some of the pictures and videos coming from it.
So I wanted to chime in here as well from a UK perspective, and in general, I think asking about non-based casinos is a bit generic, because to fully understand what or try to make predictions, you need to break it down into different demographics. And Fiona touched on this slightly. It's visible in the UK already. The land-based venues that rely on sort of casual punters that come there for a banter as a group of players, just as means of entertainment, they are packed because these are the UK people coming back to their way of life and enjoying their Friday night in a casino. Hippodrome was packed when I walked past it last week. But the casinos that rely on high rollers, and especially high rollers from abroad, they're not even open, and that just shows you there is no demand for them, and they would not be profitable if they were open, because their key customers are not there. So that's why I think there's going to be a very big difference depending on the circumstance. I see Vegas coming back to certain levels of activity because of their majority of their visitors were probably still US citizens who will travel. I don't see the international travel picking up as fast. And it's the same in other venues. I think the everyday player that used to go to the casino but have now been forced to try online and introduced to the online journey, I am not sure if I see them coming back to the land-based venues in the frequency that they were before, because it's just the convenience level. They were scared to try it online. They were not adapted to technology and so on, and that's barrier has been crossed now. I think who will come back to normal casinos are the people who are there for the experience of interacting with the players, or the really big high rollers for whom the whole physical experience with a real dealer and being able to change them and have all the management jump around you is really key, and it's very difficult to have it replicated in online. So my view is it really very much depends on the demographic and
Thanks for that, Karolina. And so Todd, welcome to stage. Obviously, ex-MGM, ex-Win, now converted to Evolution, CBO. Nice to have you here. What's your take on all of this, Todd? You have a great experience from both.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. First time on Clubhouse. I think you have to say, okay, well, what is Macau in the first place? It is the only place, the easiest, fastest place for 1.7 billion Chinese people to gamble. Overwhelmingly, the players come from mainland China, then the rest come from Hong Kong, and then like practically nothing comes from outside of those two, for all practical purposes. And so there's not a lot of alternatives. They're not all going to shoot up to Jeju or, there's no IRs in Japan. They're going to go to Macau. And so every day you've got people moving from the low class to the middle class and from the middle class to the high class. And they're going to want to play. They are. They're going to want to travel. They're going to want to go to beaches. They're going to want to enjoy. So I think it's probably pent up. I think happy days will come again to just have some fun and put a date out there when they'll break their 2019 record. Let's say 11 months from now. I'm just putting that'll be the monthly number, not the annual number. I just don't see any way you can stop it now. That's speaking to it from a demand perspective, from a COVID perspective. It's China still. If Xi Jinping decides tomorrow he doesn't think gambling is healthy or he wants to stick it to the Western operators or anything like that, then all bets are off. And or they might not renew licenses for Sands or Wynn or any of these companies, and they might just give those licenses to Chinese companies. So there's all sorts of externalities that could happen. But in terms of pure demand and desire and the world going back to normal, I think it's hard to think about it when you're living through it. But yeah, they have a lack of alternatives. That's Macau is ground zero, and they love to play. And online ain't coming to China anytime soon. So Macau, all roads lead to Macau, in my opinion.
Brilliant, Todd. So we take a note here for March 2022 for the prediction of the all-time high. In other words,
I'm on record.
On the record, yeah, recorded and everything. So Todd, on that note, I mean, is that something you guys think about in evolution? This shift from land-based casino to digital, to your own products, for example, and obviously now during COVID, it's been a massive shift from land-based to digital. Is that something you guys talk about, like that you obviously want to keep that segment as the world goes back to normal? How do you view this, in not only from Macau point of view, but
Oh yes, the online waters are warm. We want to do everything we can to hold on to players and make it as comfortable as possible and everything else. And it seems that the same way, like for example, ordering food to your house or signing up for Disney Plus or other digital behaviors you might have taken on during COVID, aren't going away. Like I think Zoom reported earnings the other day, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're definitely everything we see." He says that the new hybrid world is here to stay, and it's not like when we look at market by market, we're seeing some big decline as people start to go outside or anything like that. And so land-based transition that has been made seems to be something like here to stay, and then. But also we're trying to get our products into casinos. So we're trying to spice up what it means to even play gamble in a casino. So we partner with Games. We recently announced that we're bringing Lightning Roulette into casinos. I think there's more interesting stuff we can do beyond that. And because there's not been a lot of innovation in land-based gaming. So it's high time that someone tries to spice it up. So Evolution wants to play its little role on that.
Brilliant. Interesting to hear that. Thanks for sharing. Tim, I saw that you wanted to chime in here before. Shall we try the internet connection one more time? How is it in Kiev? Still seems that we are having some issues, unfortunately, Tim. So you'll have to ask the driver to drive to the nearest 5G tower, I'm afraid. And we'll try in a bit. We'll try a bit later again. So unfortunately, Tim, we'll have to kind of put you on mute. Sorry about that. Let's try a bit later again. What about the floor? Is there any opinions here in general on Todd's arguments, or in general of this move from in-person play to digital sphere? Do we think this is here to stay? Like Todd made the argument of that Zoom is posting the reports that they are not expecting people to just go back to traveling for a day, I presume, and to one country for just one meeting and then traveling back. But now the world is such that we are accustomed to having Zoom meetings, pandemic or no pandemic. Does the floor think that that is the same case for digital as well when it comes to online gambling, or will we see a shift back to the way things were? What about Peter? You have been silent today. Good morning to you, and feel free to share what you have on your mind.
Morning, everyone. Well, Pierre, as you know, last week was quite a hectic week in Dubai, so lots of catching up. But yeah, like I definitely agree to Todd's opinion that like this is here to stay, and like I'm more excited to see how Lightning Roulette is gonna conquer the retail business and finally, let's say, play around with the borders and what Tim is doing also with his retail operation, where he'll be probably one of the first with cashless casino. So yeah, I think exciting times, absolutely exciting times.
Brilliant, thank you, Peter. And Fiona, what you guys at Push Gaming, is the retail side something that you guys have been thinking about? Anything how to push your games into actually land-based casinos, or are you focusing solely on online?
Our business actually started by bringing very popular land-based games online way back when, 10 years ago. So it didn't make us very much money at the time. So I think, I mean, listen, there's a number of the key monopolies who are looking for our games in kiosks and stuff like that. And there's partnerships that we're always talking about and to bring some of our favorites into land-based. But I think the core focus for us as a business is still digital for now, and moving into the US and other key regulated markets and extending our footprint there. But it's not a never say never, and it's definitely something that's always on the cards and always being discussed because there is more and more crossover. But I also agree with Todd that the digital space is definitely not going anywhere, and there will always still be people who do gamble kind of offline. But I think that given the growth that most of our businesses have seen over the past 12 months and continue to see, that's definitely the space that we're looking to continue focusing on and innovating that side of things as well.
Awesome, thank you, Fiona. All right, Tim, you're back in business. Airport Wi-Fi.
I'm back
Let's
on
do it.
airport Wi-Fi. So just wanted to point out that 2 casinos have opened in Kiev last week or the week before. The Shangri-La and the Fairmont Hotel and the Billionaire Casino Intercontinental. Went and played there, absolutely pumping on the main floor. Not huge limits, obviously, on the main floor, but there for a Tuesday night, it was absolutely pumping. So I think that there's still obviously issues around taxation, how it's going to work, but it's good to see land-based casinos in some places are actually moving forward and getting back to what it feels like to go into a pumping casino.
Brilliant, thank you, Tim. Thanks for that. Interesting to hear. So land-based is not going anywhere, in other words.
I can double down on that one that Tim just shared. I talked to my friends in Vegas that run casinos, and they all say that they're having their best slot months ever. Table games are sometimes a little off just because they don't have the Asian business yet, but they're all breaking slot records month after month.
That's very interesting to hear. So close into the ending of the pandemic, even when you would imagine that the traveling hasn't been normalized to full extent yet, and still there are all-time highs being set in Vegas already. Interesting to hear, and it'll be interesting to see the numbers coming out, I guess, as well on that front. Speaking of numbers, we have another 5 minutes here, and I want to shift topic a little bit to focus on the Swedish market slightly, and the numbers just came out for April 2021. And kind of the good news here is that the revenue in the Swedish market increased by 21% year on year. However, this is obviously fueled by the fact that sports were non-existent a year ago, and on the retail side of things, the Swedish monopoly were obviously closed a year ago. So the biggest operator in Swedish, Svenska Spel, posted an increase in April 2021 of 257%. And again, this is fueled by the fact that the retail operation was closed last year, lottery and so on and so forth, as well as the sports side of things. So if you take that aside, you would kind of see Swedish market on a stalemate, so to say. It's not really moving much, the market. And this I was thinking that the last year, obviously, the industry has been fueled by positive news in a dire situation. So obviously, the listed iGaming companies have had their share prices rising throughout the year, as we all know. However, it seems a little bit that we are running out of good news in a way. And Robin Reed made a really interesting point. He said that, you know, when you read the quarterly reports, you see this written in every quarterly report, that they are saying that despite COVID, we have shown growth, but ignoring the fact that it's probably because COVID that we have seen this big growth into digital and so on and so forth. So as a final little topic today, I would like to ask the floor of, do we think that, should we be worried that in the coming quarterly reports of the major operators in Q2, Q3, that we'll see slowed growth and perhaps adjusted in the share prices? Tim, what do you think?
Look, I think with the Euros coming up right now, I think it's going to really, really, really kickstart the industry again, especially the sports betting market. There's been continual growth since the IPL's come back, and the IPL was half a season. Some of the American leagues, the Australian leagues, the tennis is always on in the French Open at the moment, barring interviews from certain players. But we've seen consistent growth, and I think the Euros is really the kickstart that the world sports betting market needs. And I think once you get that perpetual motion, you'll then see the volumes and the turnover back to what it used to be, and then obviously the crossover to the casino as well. So I think this is the kickstart the industry needs as a whole. It won't be going back to retail at the moment, but certainly for online, we're going to see a big hockey stick growth over the next 2 months with continued action of betting on the Euros. So it's quite an exciting time.
So you could perhaps make the argument that operators who are sports betting focused will see a big boost in the next coming month, also because of the Olympics, obviously in August in Japan. However, I would question the operators that are casino focused. Make a little bit of a question mark if they will see continued growth in the coming month.
All roads lead to casino. There's not going to be a problem there, and the pandemic has simply opened more people's eyes to the casino, and people are learning how to play live dealer online, playing slots online, and you know it's not gonna slow down. I think as the world comes out, there's been that mind shift away from just going down and playing in your pokies in Australia or whatnot, and obviously you can't play in Australia, but generally I think people will still go to a land-based casino, but there's more people been adopting online gameplay, and the next 12 months are very, very, very good momentum for the whole online gaming industry.
Brilliant, thank you, Tim. And Bogdan, what do you think on this? How do you see the future growth of the industry in the next year, let's say?
Well, I think the entire industry is waiting for the normalize of the situation, and everybody is hungry to go back to how the things were before. So the indications which we are seeing currently in the market, and good signals from at least the ones who are publishing it, clearly shows that even though we see this digitalization taking place, people and the customers will still have pretty much the same behavior as they were before. So what I think we are going to see some increase when it comes to digitalization, and some increase when it comes to merging somehow those two words. But the excitement and the thrill which you are having from being on physical location stays, and the people are not changing that way and will not change just because we have the COVID era. You can actually see how people are happy to get back to the planes and fly somewhere. It was like, I didn't miss that much in the past, but probably right now I will be enjoying every moment associated with this, just for the fun of the travel and seeing some friends and see this excitement. And that's pretty much translates to what people are waiting for and expecting from coming back to these premises. So I'm pretty much optimistic in that regard.
Brilliant, thank you, Bogdan. I want to go next to Todd and then finish off with Alexandre, and we start to round off the session a little bit today. So, Todd, obviously, you made the argument here the other day when we met that your job is kind of predicting the future here, and so in other words, what do you feel on the future growth of the industry? Like, do you see any, and specifically, do you see any dark clouds forming on the horizon at all, or do you see the future growth of the industry in the next, let's say, 12 months? Only looking positive. What do you make of it in general, Todd?
Well, it's so incredibly competitive right now that it's dark clouds for some companies and sunny skies for others, is my guess. I mean, some are just out operating others, and I'm talking about operators now, not the players. It's like in the United States, it's hyper aggressive. So what does winning even mean? I guess it means acquiring customers. That seems to be the most important metric as judged by Wall Street at the moment. So, whereas in Europe it's more mature, and profitability is the name of the game, and it's just getting harder and harder to operate. So, like regulation in Germany, I'm sorry, there's construction behind me. Welcome to Clubhouse, I guess. So it'll be a mixed bag of winners and losers, but it's getting harder and harder to be small. I think they have to partner with somebody big.
Consolidation, in other words, that's what we are seeing, and I guess that is part of any maturing industry as well, and that is kind of the phase that the industry is in now, specifically looking at the US, of course. Alexandre, why don't you take the last word here for today? And share your views on the future of the future growth opportunities of the industries. Do you think, like Todd mentioned, there's some dark clouds on the horizon in terms of regulation, but do you think that the industry will be able to persevere?
I'm not sure if you heard me properly. I just went in the street. I completely agree with Tim on one specific point, is that there was still for some player a barrier to go online, and I would be worried for the land-based industry, because once this player tried online, it's going to be very hard to not continue going online. Doesn't mean they're going to stop going in land-based, but the money they play is going to shift towards online for these players that were not playing that much online, and I think that that's something we're going to see. Even more digitalization of gambling. It started a long time ago, obviously, but this last remaining players that were all land-based, or these people that were playing mostly in land-based, they're gonna shift online because they've tried it, they obviously liked it. They're still gonna go in land-based to get the full experience, but I think what I feel is when we're gonna see land-based operations or falling down, maybe even being bought by online operations, and online. What we were expecting for years now, actually, what we're expecting for years is that the shift goes from land-based to online, and now that the online takes over land-based, and it's something that I feel coming. I'm not sure if other people that are working in land-based see the same thing. Obviously, going to defend, maybe not, but it's something that I really see coming, especially because of COVID.
Brilliant. Thanks, Alexandre. And to just make case in point here, there was a report coming out a couple of weeks ago highlighting the biggest gambling companies in the world by market cap, online or land-based. And what we're seeing is clearly a paradigm shift with Todd's Evolution coming in at the second biggest gambling company in the world, just behind Sounds, I believe, who's still number first, which is a land-based operation, but then closely followed by the likes of DraftKings and Flutter. Obviously, massive exponential growth in the online sector over the last couple of years, and we're clearly seeing the paradigm shift from land-based operations dominating the market in terms of market cap to online operators, obviously taking over more and more. So it'll be interesting to follow up this conversation in about a year's time to see if any online operation have taken the number one spot by that time.
I think
yeah.
just to finish that.
Let's see. I'm not sure if it's my connection, but I cannot hear you that well, Alexandre.
The RL of gambling. It's my connection. You have me back?
Oh no, we can hear you fine now. Go ahead.
Okay, so we're gonna see what happened 20 years ago with the AOL of gambling taking over the Warner of land-based. It's inevitable for me.
It seems very much so. Yes, it seems very much so. I see that Fiona has just dropped off here today. But I just wanted to actually congratulate her on the launch of Jam & Jars 2. Obviously, Game of the Year last year. It seems like it was a successful launch yesterday. So congratulations to Push Gaming and Todd. Obviously, you guys just launched Guns of Adventure as well. So exciting to see that new and cool, innovative games are coming out. So as a closing point today, Todd, anything you want to share on that game? Like any learnings, anything else we can expect from Evolution in the coming months?
Yeah, you know, what we're trying to do with this one, it's such a different game. I think it's the most different game in online right now. It's effectively a big giant pick-a-box game. Forget about the game itself or anything like that. It's just, you know, we got a lot of industry insiders on the call here. And what I think is cool about this game is we're trying to expand what online gaming is. And the game certainly won't be everybody's cup of tea. That's just the nature of doing something very different. But the prize is pretty nice. And so we wanted to take Gonzo, a famous character, teach everybody, use him to kind of teach everybody because they know they'll click if they see him. And we're trying to kind of expand the space a little bit, trying to bring in new people that are looking for a bit more of an active gaming experience. It involves a little bit of strategy. And so that's what we're trying to do with that. And then this summer we'll come out with another strategy game. So we're kind of going in this direction of game show strategy this year instead of just betting and then watching. And so we're doing our best to kind of evolve online a little bit.
Exciting times. Evolution never sleeps, in other words. Guys, it's been a fantastic session here today. Again, thanks everyone for chiming in on stage. Thanks everyone for tuning in, for listening in from wherever you are. I just wanted to reiterate again one last time that the session today is recorded and it's being published in the iGaming Next YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you happen to hang out. So you can re-watch it in about a day's time or so. Also wanted to just mention here some shameless advertising that next week is the iGaming Next Online, our major flagship digital event. Make sure to check it out. We have a super cool agenda over 2 days, 8th and 9th of June. So definitely don't want to miss that out if you want to understand what is the latest trends in the iGaming industry. And as normal, we'll be back here next Thursday, 10 a.m. for the weekly highlights of the iGaming Next Breakfast Chat. And last but not least, guys, if you like the speakers here today, make sure to follow them so that you can get notified whenever they are in other rooms or whenever we open up this room again. And yeah, that's it for today, everyone. So thank you so much. And I wish you all a really nice Thursday ahead and see you next week. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.